Hit record.
I basically wrote down the three teams I felt like did the most.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I have a list of like all of the major moves. So yeah, let's just get started. We're gonna talk about NBA trade talks and just free agency and all the moves. Last year, which seems like a really, really long time ago, we kind of did this
100
informally.
years.
Before we knew what was gonna happen to all of us. G, you were in town.
Look how much gray hair I got, man.
And we kind of talked about what could happen for the following season, which nobody was going to be able to predict because we didn't even finish the season, and then the bubble thing. And there was a lot of moves. You know, the Kawhi thing was a big bomb. And then I think the day, or you texted me like an hour after you left my house, the Russ trade happened too.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like that one and Chris Paul, I think. Yeah, that one because they flipped.
Yeah, they flipped. Mm-hmm.
Man, I can't believe that was only before last season. You're right. It feels like 5
forever.
years ago or something. It's crazy.
Quarantine's been gnarly. But yeah, so I thought it'd be fun to bring us back, and there's been so much that's happened to talk about this season. But just real quick, since I haven't talked to you in a while, what were your thoughts on the bubble and just the finals in general, like how it all shook out?
Yeah, I thought it was super fun. Like just going so long without basketball, like because of the interruption and then not having it, and then really not having sports in general. I mean, it was just there was just nothing, and it was just constantly like, man, I hope the season can happen, and then it really didn't. It was just so up in the air. We had no idea. And then when it finally did like all fall into place, and then they could actually like do it well and like keep everyone safe and like have the full season, kind of like the little bit of the regular season and then the whole playoffs, I was like, this is basically as good as we could have asked for. Like, I don't think there was anything else they could have done to make it any better. Like, it was fun. We had so much basketball. Like, at some points it was like a little bit overwhelming because there was just always games and
there was like 11 a.m. games.
Yeah.
And you're like, am I supposed to like work, have lunch, or watch basketball, or can I do all three somehow?
Yeah, exactly. And then like the quality was really good too. Like it wasn't like they came back to in the regular season and everyone was just shitty. Like that's not at all how, like the Suns looked good. Like so many guys were just like, they're like, no biggie, we'll just play in this empty gym and it's better because we don't have to travel and all this stuff. So I was super happy with it.
Well, what do you think, Scott? How we talked about this a little bit, but
it exceeded expectations, I think, for everybody. Sure. I don't think anyone was that optimistic, especially when you consider like people were talking about how NBA players are just gonna like go AWOL and leave the bubble and stuff. And then early on, somebody did leave the bubble. I forget who it was.
Lou Williams.
Yeah, Lou Williams. So everyone was kind of freaking out about that. But 0 COVID positive.
Yeah, that's a big win.
It's just nuts.
Yeah. And the caliber of the games were really high. Like I know the one knock, which is obvious, is like, we missed the fan element. But at the same time, it's like you can't even really. I mean, this is just the reality. You can't. I mean, yes, we missed that, and some of those shots, and like the Luka game winner, and all of that would have been so hype in the bubble or with fans. But obviously, just given what you've got, it's not even worth complaining about that much. I think they did a really good job, and it was really fun.
Yeah, I think the no fans thing also like kind of helped and hurt teams like in a minuscule way, but I feel like that put the needle like towards certain teams.
Yeah, like I think Scott, your Bucks I think were hurt by the no fans because like, I mean, they basically have the 1 seed locked down for like the whole season, and then you don't even get the benefits of that. And then obviously it's disappointing, but even in that first round when they're kind of tested, it's like, would that have happened if it was normal? And you got the crowd and the crowd's hyped. They're like, this is the year and all that. So it's hard to say.
Didn't they did drop the first game in the first round last year though too, right? That was kind of like, I think they did to the same team.
Well, I think so. I feel like a big part of the game plan for the Bucks is just like rest Giannis like the whole third quarter, and then just have him destroy you in the fourth, just like literally going full speed while the rest of the team is gassed on the opposite side. And the fans can kind of exacerbate that like hype that he brings, and definitely couldn't execute that exact formula in the bubble. And Coach Bud is the type of guy who just can't adjust. So,
Well, even like on that point, like you're talking about it on a game by game basis, right? They rest up Giannis, and then he's good to go for the rest. But really, that's like what they were planning to do with the season. Like they're keeping his minutes low. He's doesn't get the usage that other superstars get around the league. And I mean, the benefit I would think of that is
He could
when you
go
have the
harder.
full season, and then the playoffs, he's fresher than everyone else because like, you know, everyone else is playing 40 plus minutes. But then when you have months long break right in the, you know, 3/4 mark of the season, it's not, that advantage is just gone.
Yeah, I would argue that the Lakers won the biggest, and not just because they won the title, retroactively speaking, but I really thought that the break helped the Lakers so much. And you saw a lot of people, like dumb Lakers fans on the internet, saying like they robbed. Well, this was before we knew they were even going to make salvage a playoffs, but they were like they robbed us of our championship. They ruined it. And I'm like, no, this is great. When LeBron, my biggest knock was like I hate their bench, or like I really don't trust their bench, which still was on display in the playoffs. But also, it's like, how long can LeBron and Anthony Davis, especially if one of them gets kind of hurt, how long can they go this hard through the season, and then how much do they have to push through the playoffs? But then they got the couple of months break where they just got to chill. They probably got massages every day. I mean, they do, they're pros. They do that normally every day anyway. But they just really got to rest their bodies. Where AD is younger, but he's been riddled with injuries throughout his whole time in the league. And LeBron just older, even though he's got, Superman body, but he's just older now. On top of the fact that he got to sit out all last playoffs, so he's spring chicken when the bubble started, and they even took games off because they were coming in as a 1 seed in the West. And then they just got to just go crazy,
Yeah, and I think too they had that advantage where, like LeBron, I mean, all the physical stuff obviously, but then he's been around for so long, and he's so smart that he just knows everything about the game, right? And he's like analyzes everything. So I feel like when you're coming into this situation that no one's been in there before, like he has that slight notch above anyone, like coaches and anyone, because he's just like basketball genius. And then like from what people were saying after the finals, like Rondo is basically on that level too, where they're just like
I was gonna mention
geniuses coming together. So when they're like in this bubble, and then you got other teams that don't have like basketball geniuses, like that feels like a disadvantage to everyone else.
that exactly what you're saying. And also, which I was kind of joking about, but I really do think played a big part because of the bubble, is they just had the bench goon mob too. Like, you make every game in the bubble a home court game when you have JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard like just standing there and flexing and throwing towels and like falling on each other. You know what I mean? It just brings that home atmosphere, and that was something Clippers have a bevy of problems, but that was something that was missing on the Clippers side. Everyone's too, except for Montrezl Harrell, which we'll talk about because he went to the Lakers now. Some of those teams did not have that extra energy to get up and play games, especially when you're, one day you play at 4, the other day you, like we said, you wake up and play at 11. That's weird too, to get in a different frame mindset. And then you have no one just trying to get you going in the stands. It's only going to come from yourself, which if you're not that player, you're not that player, or it's going to come from your bench or, your co-players. And I think that really helped too, just get everyone constantly engaged. Yeah. So, any thoughts about the finals? Any particular things that stood out before we go to trades?
Just sucked that Dragic got hurt.
Yeah.
It just would have been, yeah, I think exactly what you're saying, Scott. Like it would have been great to see just Miami because of the run they were on. Like if they could have just stayed at full strength just to see what would have happened, whether or not they win. But still, just like, I mean, that game, I forget what game it was when Jimmy just went crazy. Like it was so
That was
fun.
game
It was
4.
He had
Yeah.
like no legs and he had to shoot 4 clutch free throws in a row and banged them all.
it was just awesome. It's like one of those performances that you're just like, you just feel lucky to be watching because it's like, how is this guy doing this? Like it's unbelievable.
And he's
So
guarding LeBron on the other end too. It's not like a Harden performance, which again, not knocking him, he's still great too. But where he goes out and shoots the lights out and then comes back on the other end is whatever, and is maybe guarding a secondary player. He's guarding LeBron. It was guarding LeBron the entirety of the finals too, and playing the most minutes. Like,
yeah, I think that series definitely goes 7 games if Dragic is there. I still think the Lakers probably get it, but the games would have been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I just wanted to see it. I mean, the finals were named, and then I have a buddy who's a Lakers fan. He asked me what I thought because I was chiming in a lot because I'm a Jimmy fan, not necessarily a Heat fan, but I watched a lot of the Heat because of Jimmy, and I wanted to see what that team was going to look like. And I was like, honestly, it's going to go to 6 games. And he was kind of like, really? And he was being reasonable, and he's like, a lot of Lakers, like dumb Lakers fans, think it's going to be a sweep, and like I don't think it's going to be a sweep. That's what he was saying. And I was like, oh no, it's not going to be a sweep. And then he's like, but would you be surprised if it's a sweep? So still trying to angle. I'm like, no, I guess I wouldn't, because it's LeBron and AD and the way AD's been playing in the bubble. But I was like, it's not going to be a sweep. And then he's like, what do you think about 5 games? And I said, it could, but I really feel like it's going to be 6 games. And that was before the injuries, because obviously game 1, both Bam and Draw just get hurt and then don't play for subsequent games. And the fact that they still made it to 6 games, because again, this is me saying healthy versus healthy. I was like, it's going to go to 6 games. And the fact that Dragic, which is a big part of their offense and would have helped a lot, not revisionist history, like, oh, they for sure would have won. But I mean, the weak spot was their guards. Caruso did a really good job, but Dragic was just going to cut them up and get in all the time. And the one game he did play, and that was the thing with Dwight. Dwight basically got played off the floor because Jimmy kept doing that. Come in, just throw the body, accept the Dwight's punishment, get fouled, and then he got quick fouls. Jimmy got to go to the line, and then, okay, you have to yank Dwight now. Dragic was going to do that too, and he helps activate Bam so much by just that penetration, that missing that the whole series, except for like that game 6 or whatever, when he just wanted to play. I swear, like Jimmy made a deal with Spo, and like, if I get us to this, he did like a 2-part deal. He's like, if I get us, if we don't get swept, you have to play Bam, because Bam was apparently begging to play, but clearly he was still hurt because he did not look good. And then that's when he, like Scott said, did that really crazy game 4. And then Spo's like, all right, fuck, play Bam. And then he's like, I swear, if we don't die tonight, you have to play Dragic. And Spo's like, okay, fine. And then they win the game 5, and then Dragic comes out and they play him some minutes off the bench or whatever. But both were clearly still hurt, and it just sucks that it went down like that. But it was big absolvement of sins for Jimmy as a Jimmy fan, and that was nice to see at least. But I wish they could have had an honest crack at it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother chestnut, is like Jimmy finally being able to build the culture himself rather than having to do it with somebody else, or like not being able to at all. And look what happened. He reached the finals. That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, the big thing was he said, like, this is a team that wants me. I've always been places where, I was at the Bulls and I was definitely younger and second fiddle to Derrick Rose. Then he goes down, and then they do this awkward jostling match of like, who should it be once he comes back? Then he's basically irreparably damaged, and it becomes Jimmy's team, but just kind of by default, because like, okay, you're the last one left kind of thing. Then he goes to Minnesota, obviously not. So, and the Sixers thing. So like, he finally felt like he had a team that wanted him, and you see the response, I guess, and how happy he was to be wanted and to have support behind him. So that was cool too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sticking on injuries, let's just go to you, G. Okay, yeah. So we got Warriors fan with Giancarlo, and then Scott is a Bucks fan. We're gonna get Tim soon too. And then I'm a
Let's
Bulls.
go.
I'm a so it's kind of funny like that you guys are wearing your stuff because I'm a Bulls fan. There's nothing to speak of, and they like literally made no moves. But I wore my John
Chris
Morant
Dunn.
shirt today because I'm basically gonna be a de facto Memphis Grizzlies fan for the foreseeable future, just because I love his game and I think they're gonna be really fun. But yeah, the Clay injury. I mean, just thoughts, just pain,
Man.
right?
Yeah, just total pain. And I mean, the one nice part has been that like the reaction from everyone, like on Twitter, and then even just like the players and stuff, like everyone just feels bad. And so like it's clear that everyone loves Clay, everyone respects Clay, they know like how good he is, and like how hard he was working to come back from the ACL. So like it's nice that he gets that kind of recognition, I think, but still, I mean, it's like that makes it 1% better, right? Like it's just so, when I saw that first news, it was when it was like lower leg injury, and you're just like,
Right.
all right. So, but then they were saying that it's not on the leg, the opposite leg of his ACL. So I was like, okay, well that's good, I guess. Because I was thinking like maybe it's just an ankle, like he had a bad ankle sprain or something, and they're just being really careful. And maybe somehow it gets out, it's a lower leg injury, but maybe it's not that bad. I'm just like holding on to hope. But then like when it comes out that it's the Achilles, it's just like I hate it because it just feels like when you just get yourself ready, like, okay, like last year sucked with everything. And then, but it's like, okay, we're going to be back this year. And like Weissman, like, let's see what we can do.
Last year was like as good a year as you could hope for like, it was like a mini tank and you get a freaking lottery pick. Like that's nuts.
You guys like super lucked out. Like the way everything went, it up until like you cash in all your play thing. That's like what it was. It was so weird.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to play the full season. Like that's like how happy are you? You were already like faking Steph injuries, so you didn't have to play because like, oh, what's the point? We're tanking anyway. I don't want him to get hurt anymore. And Draymond was too. And then it's just like COVID happens, which obviously that's just bad for everything else. But for the Warriors as a team, it's like, great, we don't have to play anymore. We're not going to make the bubble. So we get less games, and then we get the second round pick and get the perfect like new piece that you need. And it's like everything's great. And then the Clay injury, and then it's just everything's awful again.
Yeah. And it's worse too, because it's like continuing off of the run, like of the championship runs, because it, the championships and then the KD stuff. And so it's that question of like, well, can we get back there like without KD, right? Can we compete with the Lakers? That's the other piece, right? Like I would love to like have Warriors Lakers head to head, like just give it to me, right? Like that's what you want to see. I would guess most fans of both teams would want to see that at some point in the playoffs. And it's just like that window starts to slip away, right? Where it's like, it's another year of everyone just gets older, right? Steph gets a little older, Draymond gets a little older. They're still gonna compete when they're playing at like super hard. So it's like, all right, well now we got to think about next year, and then what does Clay look like when he comes back? Because
that's the thing.
That's what I think. That's the hardest part, is because his defense is so valuable. Like I think that's what I love, not the most, but like he's not just camp in the corner and shoot and then is a liability on defense. Like he's an amazing offensive player, and then he like consistently guards the like best guys on the other team and can take a stab at Harden, can take a stab at like all the great guards in the West, and that like you can't replace that. And if he's not like I mean, he's not gonna be 100% back, but what if he's like 60% back? Like, is that good enough? Like, I don't know. And it's just hard. That part sucks, I think, because offense could come back, but the defense, I just don't know.
The lateral movement and the quickness, that's I mean, when the KD injury happened, everyone was saying like no one fully comes back. No one has proven to take Achilles injury like that to the dome and then just be the same player they were. And everyone's like, well, what's KD going to look like this next season? And we're going to see it pretty soon. But now for Clay, it's even worse because it's like he comes off an ACL and then Achilles on the other leg. And now it really asks the question, like, what is he going to be able to do and look like, even when, because he's going to work hard and he's going to rehab it and he's going to come back and be healthy. But then it's like, yeah, how is he going to look? That's like so many question marks now with that double injury back to back like that. And then mentally too, when you snap your stuff, it's like, am I comfortable to do this, step back? Am I comfortable to put weight on this and do these movements? And that's going to take time too, as we've seen kind of with Oladipo and with Hayward, to get back to their normalcy of patterns and play style too. So yeah,
it's just bad.
I was not happy to see that.
Worst injury you can get as an athlete. KD's a little different because I think his game as a pull-up shooter isn't as affected. So he's always gonna be valuable, but man.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a bummer.
They were like a hope to maybe fuck with the Lakers before they went Darth Sidious on the NBA in free agency just now.
Yeah. Okay. So here, let's do the Bucks next, and then we'll come to the Lakers because I think that is a big part. But
yeah.
So the Bogdan back and forth bait, and then you thoughts on that, Scott, and then also you do get a major win though. You move Bledsoe, which I did not think was going to happen, and then you get Drew Holiday, which was one of the most sought after people in this kind of whatever you want, trade bracket, So what are your thoughts on all of that?
Getting Bledsoe out just had to happen. Giannis is gone. If it doesn't happen, they threw the kitchen sink at the Pelicans to do it, it's just the best play that they could have made. Bledsoe is just literally a walking brick in the playoffs, and he told this to Harry, but his elite defense is just it's still a net negative when every time he touches a ball he turns it over via a missed shot or a charge or just all the crap that he pulls, and people are just giving him the license to brick threes in the playoffs just to play better help on Giannis. So it's he's just a complete liability at that point.
He's a super liability. Yeah.
We tried it for 2 years and had to ship him out. So I'm very proud of them just biting the bullet and just doing what they had to do to make that happen.
Yeah, it seems like it's never a good sign when there's a guy who every year you're like, okay, if this guy is just not terrible during the playoffs, we could do something. But every year it's just the same thing over and over. It's you just got to move on. It's not going to happen. And everyone knows that for the Bucks to have reach that next level, or when they do look that next level, it was when Bledsoe was looking good. But the problem is when that doesn't happen, everyone knows okay, something has to change here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just, when he's not firing, he just throws a huge wrench in the whole offense because Chris Middleton can't create his own shot really. Giannis just gets tsunamied with bodies when he drives to the rim, and he has no mid-range shot, or post game. So it's literally there's a scripted possession every time the Bucks bring it down. It's just, does Giannis go in from half court, or does he give it to Bledsoe and try to get something, from him, or does Bledsoe just do Bledsoe things? So it's they were figured out, and it just, Bledsoe made their team too one-dimensional, and he couldn't execute the one dimension that it was. So it's done.
Yeah. So and now what are your thoughts about the Bogdan back and forth? Probably not going to happen now.
So I read up, it probably wasn't going to happen, but like
Based on money?
based on money, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we'll see what happens. Where he goes. If he goes to the Lakers, fuck, dude.
I
It's
told
on
Scott.
site.
I told
It's on
Scott.
site for Bogdanovich in these streets if he goes to the Lakers.
I told Scott G that when that first like news broke that, oh wait, maybe, you know, the Bogdan thing's not happening, I was like, it's 100% was just LeBron like tattling to the commissioner. Like he hasn't on speed dial. He texted him and said, hey, is this, I don't know, you know, I'm just me, but look into, does this seem right to you?
Yeah, and the
then
shitty thing is like they're
but then
already
the next
reporting.
day,
They reported that the Lakers and Hawks were interested in him. Like, how did that happen? Like, same fucking tampering as everybody else.
well, also as LeBron and the Lakers, you can't cry about tampering when you got AD.
Yeah.
You guys have the same
LeBron
agent.
literally created a tampering like organization by owning Clutch fucking Sports and Rich Paul representing like half the NBA. Like he literally has a tampering fucking mafia.
We're just hanging out together. Well, yeah, I mean, LeBron even said like I was in his ear, like I was talking AD, you know, every day, and everyone's like, okay, seems
yeah, you can as a player, but LeBron James is the front office of every team he fucking plays on. So it's like, it's like he has like the legitimate. He has such a like cavalcade of loopholes where his fucking sports agency,
it's ridiculous,
reps all this huge talent, and he's also a player, so he can't be implicated in any tampering. And then also the front office just bows to him. But yeah, Bogdanovich, oh, that would have been so sick.
It was gonna be a big pickup for you guys.
Yeah, it would have put us over the top. It like we're literally both those players would have shored up like the main weaknesses the Bucks had on offense, like just spacing the floor and having a playmaker that can create a shot for somebody. Those are the two things we didn't like really have, and they would have just slotted right in and did that for us, which would have been sick. But you know, I don't think it was going to happen from a money standpoint, but the NBA looking into it, it kind of rubs me the wrong way as a Bucks fan. It's like it just screams to me that it's like because Giannis could leave the Bucks, like everyone was just pointing like this.
Yeah.
So people could actually get a shot at Giannis as opposed to like actual other tampering shit that you could easily point to in the past. That's much more blatant, like Kemba Walker going to Boston the day before he could sign and just being there. Like, whose idea was that for him to go to Boston, but the day before signing with Boston? Like,
yeah, I think I mean, I get the frustration for sure because it does seem like the tampering stuff's so tricky because I mean, everyone knows it happens. It's just like underground and like, wasn't it I can't even remember when it was, but the like Magic got fined because of tampering. Like they actually came down and was like, no, like the Lakers and Magic were when Magic was in the front office and he was like, I don't remember even who it was with. It might have been with AD, but they actually like fined him or something. So it's like, when do we like actually hand out punishments and when are we just kind of like, well, this happens, but what are you going to do? It's like out there. And this feels like one of those where it was like something seems to have changed and it's not entirely clear why, at least to me, but
yeah. Well, and it's frustrating too because it kind of seemed like most people were reporting that, hey, you know, in the situation that we're at with the bubble, coming off the bubble, like people are going to be more, and the shorter window to trade and move players, like the tampering thing isn't going to be really sniffed around because of all those things, which I think is more than fair because obviously, you know, everyone's talking down the bubble. They're going fishing in the artificial lake together. They're on the same floor hotel as everyone. They play each other every other day. And then also like, it's just a blitzkrieg free agency because the season's just starting again next month. So, you know, everyone's just sending texts and saying, hey, come over. Like, what's the money like? Come over. Let's compete for a championship, which I'm totally fine with too, just given everything that's going on. And then, And then they get dinged for, and it's not, again, no disrespect, because I was in Scott's ear a lot saying I really like Bogdanovich. I even watched him this year play the Warriors, and he was just in Oakland. He was just cooking the Warriors and getting into the teeth and creating his own shots. But it's not even like he's a top tier player. You know what I mean? Like the Chris Paul thing long ago, which who knows if that was justified either, but that made more sense because he's Chris Paul. And it really does just seem like a shot at Giannis to like jiggle the Bucks so that he might fall out and go to another team than anything to just try and snipe on this weird Bogdanovich tampering thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seemed really petty and weird choice for your snipe, only because it's basically targeted at Giannis to get him to move, hopefully, if the team's not good enough. So yeah, I think that's kind of dumb, personally.
Yeah. So I mean, the dream scenario we're missing out on because we've already made moves that kind of spent the money that we could possibly send for Bogdanovich. But the tampering allegations is what kind of put the nail in the coffin, I think. I think we could have really got there by, signing people and just trading them, kind of like a reverse sign and trade almost, to make the money work. But the fact that the NBA's in the business of looking at us for tampering, I think that killed it like dead, nail in the coffin. Because if they tried, it would have been validating on some level that there was tampering. So they kind of had to drop it, in my opinion. But we made a few other moves. Argue with players I don't really know much about, with DJ Augustine and Bobby Portis. I know like DJ Augustine's like a backup level point guard, something that we needed, but I don't really know actually how good he is. And I know nothing about Bobby Portis, like literally nothing.
Was it Bobby Portis that got punched in the face, or did he punch someone in the face?
He punched Mirotic.
Was that what it was?
Mirotic, yeah. In the face.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's about all I know about him too.
You got a rider. That's all you need to know. Anyone starts
good because Mirotic just deuced out on the Bucks like later. Okay, cool. So deserved.
I feel like Augustine had some moments in the bubble. I remember like because he was on the Magic, right?
Yeah.
I think, and I feel like there were a couple games where I was like, okay, Augustine's like doing something here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Magic dudes, for me, they're just like black hole teams where I just don't know what happens on those teams because like they're never on national TV. I'm not like grinding League Pass to like watch the Magic. Like it just doesn't happen. So like, I mean, like same thing when you hear about really any of those players. I'm like, does Mo Bamba suck or is he just not being played right? I don't know because I don't watch the Magic. So yeah, I don't know a lot. I don't have a strong opinion on Augustine, I guess.
I think he'll be okay. He has flashes and moments, and at least he's small and he's quick, so he can kind of get into spots. Which I think is just the biggest thing. You just want kind of someone that could snake around to just get the defense collapsing a little bit.
He's literally just like literally a George Hill replacement, pretty much. Like I think they're even like the same age and everything. So I doubt his three ball is as good as George Hill's, but I think that's the logic, is we need kind of like someone coming off the bench to run the floor.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Because now with Bogdanovich, we could have had like more of a rotation in the starting lineup, but now we have like four starters locked. And we can't really rotate that like as much.
Okay, let's transition to Harden to the Nets. Are we pretty sure it's happening, and what do we think about it?
I mean, it's probably happening, right? He said by name, like, I want to go to the Nets.
Well, and I mean, he denied a lot of money, so seems like he's
I feel like the Rockets will cave for a package from the Nets just to get rid of it, because it might not even happen until the season starts, kind of like Jimmy to the Heat, or what? No, Jimmy to the Sixers. Which one happened mid-season? I forget.
Jimmy to the Sixers.
Yeah. So it might take a while, but I don't know. It's something. They re-signed Joe Harris too, so
yeah, I know he's on my list of notable re-signs.
They keep that like James Harden like spread everybody out, and then he gets the ISO shit.
I mean, from the Nets perspective, I guess like it's tough because are you really gonna?
Do you want all that? Like,
I know that's what I was thinking. Because KD, Kyrie, and Harden, assuming they would keep Kyrie, I guess, in this trade.
Apparently, the Rockets kept saying you have to give us Kyrie in this trade, but the Nets aren't going to do that. That's the whole reason they got KD and Kyrie together. Yeah. So, but anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good point. Like, I don't know why the Rockets would make that trade without getting Kyrie back, but let's just pretend they do it for some reason. And then, like, if you had those three guys, like, I don't understand how they play together, I guess, because they're all like
super ball dominant.
Yeah. And KD, the least of the three, but I think KD's the best of the three, assuming injury stuff is
so okay. He should have the ball more.
Yeah. So it's just weird to me. It's like, unless you have an idea of like how these guys can play together, I don't really know why you would do it. Or maybe KD is like, Kyrie is crazy, get him out and bring in Harden.
I was just gonna say, like, maybe KD and Harden are like, ex-wife and ex-husband trying to get back together for the kids.
It is kind of cute seeing like they're like the Rolling Stones that broke up that are slowly getting back together and touring again, at least like one by one. Maybe not the whole band loves each other, but you know, Jagger will do, the show with Keith Richards because, he tried it with Westbrook. We all knew, I'm just going to speak for everyone because I know how we feel about Westbrook. We all knew it wasn't going to work, right? And now everyone's like, yeah, this isn't going to work, at least in their current scheme. Some things changed in Houston management, so they could be more open to just doing a different thing. But what are you going to do with guys like Macklemore and stuff? They only can play that way, and they only look super good because they played to that system. But it is kind of cute that he might be getting the band back together again with Durant in a sense, because I mean, I that's my biggest NBA regret that I wasn't a part of, is I wanted to see more of that OKC trio, and then they let Harden go and he did his own thing, and then KD went to the Warriors, got a ring, and then Russ stuck it out, and then now we're here where Russ and Harden tried again, and it was just not happening.
Yeah.
So it's really weird because it's like super on the line for me, because at first glance you're like, this isn't gonna work. There's only one ball. And I know everyone's already saying that on Twitter, but weirdly, it could just be the most degenerate stretching of each positional role possible. You know what I mean? Because KD, like you said, is the best of the three in terms of just diverse of scoring. You can't stop him. He's going to get his shots because the second he raises his fucking elastic arms up, like, you can't guard it. So as long as he's hitting it, he's hitting it. And Kyrie's one of the best ball handlers in the game and can finish at the rim, but also has no problem making great passes. If James Harden just slides in and says, I'm just going to be a shooting guard and kind of do what I do in Houston with less dribbles, I'm just going to stand around the top and wait till KD swings it to me, and I'm just going to dance someone for like 2 steps and do a step back 3, it could actually be good, just because, I mean, we were watching Harden, take anyone off the dribble with a couple steps and just sink a 3, or, go by somebody, get into the teeth, and then swing it back out for KD for a 3 or something. So I actually think it could work better than it seems, but it also does kind of like, wait a minute, how's this going to work?
Yeah, somebody will have to like fundamentally change like how they
it would be
function.
Harden.
Yeah.
It would just be Harden just being like, I'm just going to be like I'm gonna be freaking footloose, Kyle Korver. That's basically what it is. Like he's gonna wait in a like couple spots, like top off the left, and then maybe like in the right corner. And then a couple times we're like, okay, like everyone will stop and it's like, stop, Harden time. And they'll throw it to the corner and he'll just like do 2 moves and do a 3. And then that's it. Make or miss. You live with it. DeAndre Jordan grabs the board or he makes it. It would be Harden, I think, because you still have to have Kyrie just, go in, and KD just the most amorphous of the 3, but he's still going to get a lot of touches and play really well.
Yeah. So if it wasn't, that was assuming all 3 guys stay, but let's say like Kyrie would have to get shipped to Houston. Like, would you rather see a
the most
season
toxic
Russ and Kyrie on the same team, same position? Like, what the fuck?
It'd be insane.
It'd be so stupid.
I would watch every Rockets game.
Would you rather watch the Nets season with KD and Kyrie or KD and Harden? Like which couple makes you more excited?
That's a good question.
Because
I just want to see the post-game interviews with KD and Kyrie, like the press conferences where they're like sitting together.
We don't have a coach.
Nonsense.
We don't have a coach.
Just nonsense.
They shouldn't do post-game interviews. They should do like an Ask Me Anything Reddit, and all the reporters just have to submit questions, and then they have to just like just sit there on their phones and respond, because I think that would just be the best.
Or like Instagram Live or something. Like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna go Instagram Live. Reporters, regular people, just throw your questions at us. We'll answer what we want.
We'll see you guys on Kyrie's Instagram Live right after he does his henna tattoo and tarot reading. But to answer your question, I think it actually would be hard, just because just going back to the like, let's do glory days, baby. Let's complete the 3-way footsteps in the sand thing. And because I mean Harden is just such a prolific scorer and can really, get to any spot and finish, but he definitely needs someone else to draw some attention. And also sometimes he just kind of closes up when, I mean, you as a Warriors fan know, because you're the biggest culprit of ending his playoff run, is that sometimes he just sees a little bit hard defense and people are going at him, couple shots don't fall, and then he just doesn't want any part of the game anymore. And that's when you just go, okay, KD, like bail me out of this shit. Like get some eyes on you for a little bit so I can go back to dancing people, going one-on-one and doing what I do. And Kyrie can do that too, but I mean, just, apples to apples, KD is just the better player. And romantically, I would want to see them just try it again one more time, if that's on the table.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie's pretty good too. Like, they would lose the least, I think, in my opinion, by getting rid of Kyrie.
Yeah, they would probably have to. I mean, they're definitely losing Karis LeVert, and then they probably.
I think they might already have, but maybe that was just a rumor.
No, I don't think he's moved yet.
Okay, yeah.
There's no way you move him unless you're getting.
And maybe he was rumored to be part of the trade.
He was going to be part of the trade 100%. Yeah, because there's just no way you get enough value without him, because he's going to be a really gnarly player. And to be honest, that's the thing I'm scared of most. I mean, yeah, they kept Joe Harris, but it's like Karis LeVert's running your second unit, and he was looking so silky smooth with the G League French nets in the bubble. And then they got the French guy, the Lutztalkaboutit guy. Like, those guys are going to feast in the second unit when KD and Kyrie are sitting, and maybe DeAndre Jordan plays a little bit more minutes just to kind of play bully ball and grab rebounds. Like, that's what I'm more scared of than the actually headlining opening ticket of KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn.
I mean, to me, like, I think I agree that, I mean, it just selfish-wise, I'd rather see Harden and KD together just because I think it'd be fun. But I feel like the Nets are looking at it as like why would we do this, I guess? Because the Rockets are going to need so much back for any trade with Harden. And so I could see the Nets being like, we could just keep our guys. And so like they re-signed Joe Harris. So they brought back at least one guy. Maybe they don't bring back the whole squad, but they're looking at it as like, how can we, we already have of our starters, 2 guys that are like superstars, so that's fine. But then like, how can we round out our bench so that we're a good team and not just like, well, let's get Harden because he said he wants to come here, but we're gonna have to give up everything to bring him here.
Also, I think they're they're looking into picking up Serge Ibaka, which I think they need more because, and that was a thing I wanted to bring up a little bit later. Just seeing the Lakers winning, everyone's trying to adapt, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, we need a big, like 2 or 3 to deal with." I mean, it's not Dwight Howard anymore, but it's Montrezl Harrell, which I would argue is worse, and still AD and LeBron, and them just pounding you constantly. So you got DeAndre Jordan, but I don't know how much legs he's got. And Serge Ibaka can shoot a 3, and he can play really good defense and get those blocks and just try to challenge. And if you're actually thinking about winning instead of like this is cool picture, like you do need to round out that, and like picking up Serge Ibaka, another big, since you have your shooters now, is I think what they want. It would be worth doing. Spencer Dinwiddie's got to go somewhere though, and that might be part of the trade for Toronto, because I think there's no space for him left anymore in terms of ball. But getting to keep Karis LeVert is like a huge win, and they're going to be scary this year.
Do they still have Jarrett Allen? Or no?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he got. Okay, he's not on my list, but I think they were having talks about him having to move somewhere, or they couldn't afford him or something.
I like him. I think he's good. Like every time I've watched a Nets game, like to me he stands out. Like his defense, like he's all over on defense, like changes shots, blocks shots. On offense is whatever, but like, if you have KD and Kyrie, you're fine.
Yeah.
And those other guys, like whoever you end up with Dinwiddie, LeVert, Joe Harris, like you're fine. Like don't worry about that. I mean, I think if you're Brooklyn and your bigs are some combination of either DeAndre Jordan, Jarrett Allen, and then if you can get Serge, like say it's some combination 2 of those 3 guys, like to me that's pretty good. Like I would take all those guys. I'd probably prefer Allen and Ibaka over DeAndre, but like I mean they already have DeAndre, and it seems like KD and Kyrie love him, so they probably have to keep him for that. So,
and then in this situation, is just Russ just stuck in the Rockets with a bunch of just guys who stand in the corner now?
Yeah, and Christian Wood.
That's true. Yeah, they got Christian Wood. But other than that, I mean, they lost Covington, which I thought was a perfect fit for that team.
They didn't just lose him; they just traded him. Like, what? That doesn't make sense.
I think they're trying to figure out what to do now with the whole Harden thing.
The Rockets are so tough because, for so long it's been like we know what they do. We know like it's Harden, it's
or they've
ISO.
been defining that type of, not only that, they've been defining that in type of play, and people are thinking about like looking at them and maybe trying to model after that too.
Yeah. So now like with Daryl Morey being gone, and then a new coach, it's like, so what do they do? Like, are they going to mix it up? Are they going to try to just recreate it and like run it back? And just that being an unknown makes it hard for me to think about like, oh, well, the Rockets would like this, or the Rockets wouldn't do that, because like, I don't know what the Rockets are going to do.
Yeah, which is why I like the Christian Wood pickup. He's young. He can still shoot the 3 if they still force that system, but at least they have a big, because I texted you like, oh, looks like they're backpedaling a little bit on that no bigs thing, because you just can't do that. It's people were saying like, oh, the Rockets Lakers might be a really tough matchup for the Lakers, because if they just shoot 16 million threes, doesn't matter. Like AD can go off for 40 every night and they still lose. Yeah, well, the problem was Lakers played pretty good defense on the perimeter, and then they didn't hit 16 million threes. And you just got beat up inside every single second,
And when the Rockets looked good is when they were like playing insane defense. Like all their guys were going 100% effort, and it looked really good. Like in when it was still the normal season before COVID, and they made when they got rid of oh man, I'm blanking, the big guy,
Capella.
Yeah, when they got rid of him, they were like super committed to the small ball, and it looked good for a few games, and
It was
people were
just like
like,
a
"Oh
sea of
shit!"
hands in the passing lanes.
Yeah, but then like to me, a major like when they couldn't recreate that in the bubble in the playoffs with the massive COVID recharge break, like okay, well that was never going to work then for a whole season because it's too much energy.
Yeah, and then you just have they just ran into a guy that could just score any way he wants. I mean, Anthony Davis was just the playoffs were just another Anthony Davis highlight reel. There was times where I was just like, that's such a dumb shot. And then he makes it. I'm like, fuck me, I guess. It's like, I'm like, you're Anthony Davis. You got like fucking PJ Tucker on you. You're just going to shoot a 3 on him like 2 seconds in the shot clock. I'm like, that's so dumb. Like, come on, who are you? Drains it. Okay, I'll shut up. He puts the ball down twice, spins away. He's double teamed and he like does the raise up the legs, shoot over. I'm like, that's such a dumb shot. Bottoms, it's just I'm like, okay, never mind. He's just God, I guess.
I was telling Harrison that he's like the most alien looking NBA player, so he might actually be from another planet.
It hasn't been ruled out, honestly.
It's interesting though, because I don't think I like explained this well enough, but I wrote an article basically saying like it's kind of interesting. Oh, my dog's going crazy. It's kind of interesting that the last 2 years, someone who basically forced themselves off of their team immediately won a championship. Anthony Davis and then Kawhi last year.
And Kevin Durant. Too.
Or
was he a free agent?
He was a free agent, right? He just went to you guys. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I tried to chart like the similarities where they both kind of had injuries and they were kind of using that as a smokescreen. Like, oh, I can't play. I'm injured. I don't want to re-injure. I don't feel comfortable yet. Meanwhile, the whole time like sulking and trying to reach out to other people and say, I'm looking. And then saying like, okay, I'm leaving one way or the other. You better trade for me and get what you can for it because I'm not playing for you anymore, which is basically what happened in both cases. And I said, that's really interesting. And I don't feel like anyone like has really brought that up. Mostly because it's hard to make that connection because from this season to the last season, it seems like 5 years. And I said, like, who's going to be the next person? Is it going to be like a Bradley Beal or a Giannis? And it's kind of emerged as Harden now, which is just interesting. Like, I'm not saying I wrote the Harden part in because that just happened like last week. But it's interesting that it charts through that line of thinking. And if he does force himself off of Brooklyn, and if they do win, which they totally could because they're in the East and that team hypothetically is just really, really scary. And I think it's just an interesting thing to think about, and also kind of raises this question of like, how problematic is this of everyone forming these giga super teams and basically the players getting to say like, yo, you need to move me. I mean, Harden's the biggest example. Like, literally, we're going to pay him the most anyone ever got, like a year. And he was just like, no, send me to Brooklyn. And everyone's like,
right after he like what? Basically engineered the trade for Russ too, apparently.
Yeah, he fucked the Rockets. So if it happens, which I mean, something's going to happen because he's not happy and he's forcing the move. But he literally said, yo, bring me Russ. And even probably people in that office were like, this isn't on our system because he doesn't shoot a 3. And you saw it in the playoffs. Everyone just like was doing this, giving him Bledsoe treatment, like Scott was talking about. We're like 50 feet away from him. I'm just looking at whoever has the ball. I don't care if he catches in the corner wide open. He's not going to shoot it or he's not going to make it. And then also, his game is that weird, which I hate, like 17-footer off to the side, like elbow jumper mid-range shot. That's like his shot that he's been forcing for years, and like that doesn't fit inside of a layup or a 3, which is the dogma of the Rockets. And it was almost awkward too, is like it almost seemed like in theory Russ would be better coming off the bench for the Rockets, just the way they play, like give Harden a break, let Russ now be the penetrator. And like, okay, I'm getting in, either going to get fouled or I'm going to kick it out to McLemore in the corner and PJ Tucker in the corner. But obviously you're not going to do that because who he is and the caliber and the name and the money. But it just wasn't going to be a right fit. And now he's like, okay, move me. I don't care about the money. I don't care that my homeboy's here. Like, move me. I want to go somewhere else. Like, what do you do? That's just such a tough spot as an owner. And like, he's basically like, he's had the keys for what, like 7 years now? I think he went over in like 2012, 2013 season.
Yeah.
And then he's the face of the whole thing, and he wanted to be, and now he's just like, no, I'm over it. I want to play in Brooklyn, and nothing you can do will stop me.
Yeah. When he turned down that the money, that was like was that an extension or a
Yeah, I'm
because
pretty sure it's an extension.
I think he still has a couple years on his contract. Like he's not like a
yeah.
free agent next year, I don't think.
No, I think
So
yeah.
So that part I think is extra difficult, right? Because AD, like, he was going to become a free agent. So it's like he has that card. He's like, trade me or I'm going to leave. Same thing with Kawhi, I think. Like, he was going to become a free agent. He was like, get me out of here.
You're right.
So,
yeah.
But then for Harden, it's like, I mean, I still have a couple years on my deal. And then, but like, trade me and trade me to a specific team. Like, how is that supposed to happen? Like, what are the Rockets supposed to say to that? And then how do you roll out your squad next year when everyone's like, yeah, Harden,
he's not
he
one
has
of
to be
us.
traded. He didn't want to be here. It's like, what? Like, how do you work with that? I don't know.
Also,
Yeah.
they have no leverage with the Nets because, like,
their team's
Harden's,
better.
yeah, their team's better, and they don't need anything like immediately from the Rockets. And James Harden only wants to go there, so it's like the Nets have all the power in negotiations. So it's like, I think the longer the clock ticks, the worse the trade the Rockets get in return for Harden becomes, because once Harden starts faking injuries and shit, you know, the Rockets are going to be pressed to get something, and they'll probably take a worse deal.
Yeah, they're going to get skinned alive.
The injury thing is super interesting to watch for in this next season because
He's
Harden's like never hurt, right?
Yeah.
He always plays. It's kind of crazy how much he plays. So if all of a sudden it's like these little minor things and they're not playing him, it's like that feels like he's pulling the Kawhi of like, I could play, but I don't want to play.
I want to be healthy for the next team I go to. That's basically what Kawhi was doing. But that's a good point because, yeah, Harden's like Mr. Videos of me after the game working out, right? Superman never miss a game. And yeah, it's going to be something to watch out for. I feel like we're just going to start hearing if this move doesn't happen before the season starts, we're going to start just hearing like, yeah, stuff being put out there of like, lingering, pain, this uncertainty. Then you're going to do some stuff, and then he's going
to migraines,
like 2 games.
Migraines. That's the big line. That's the NFL one. Migraines.
Does migraine just mean I don't want to get mollywopped on national television? That's the equivalent of like my tummy hurts. I don't want to go to school today.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, I know it's something. I think it's at first I didn't think it was going to happen, but just with how overt he's demanding, and you see the money that he didn't said no to, it's probably going to happen in some form. And then I don't know. It's funny because I always say don't trust the Rockets in the playoffs. That's my personal mantra. But they always look good and they always have a good regular season. I actually thought they were going to have a slightly better record. Just on the novelty of the Russ Harden experiment than they did this season. But then they just fall apart in the playoffs because the scheme doesn't work. And it becomes a different beast in the playoffs. But now it's crazy because if this move does happen, the Rockets instantly become no longer a playoff team. And no longer a fake playoff team, just not even a team that makes it, because the West is so crazy and so many teams like the Suns and even the Grizzlies have geared up a lot more. Even potentially Minnesota could make a run for the bottom of that bracket, that the Rockets just fall off and can't do anything anymore. So that's kind of crazy to think about. Who do you think made the most interesting acquisitions in both like with trades and picking up people in free agency? Like what team or what pickup was the kind of creme de la creme for you?
It's a good question. I feel like it's painful, but I feel like the Lakers have made good moves. Like I think they've gotten better. Like
They
by
did.
getting Montrez and then and
Schroeder.
Schroeder. That's the one. Like the Schroeder thing is one. It's like a move that like you see it when it pops up, and you're just like shit. Like really, because to me, and like I don't know. Maybe I haven't watched enough of Schroeder, but he's in that like Rondo vein of like kind of just like a feisty dude, like not afraid to kind of like piss off people on the other team, just will hassle you on D and can do things on offense and probably shoots better than Rondo. So like, and he's younger. So it's just kind of, it feels like this
And he got
upgrade.
his 1 year master's at Chris Paul University.
Yeah. And he looked good last year. So
He's
it's
averaging like
like
16, 17 a game
like to
alongside
me,
two other guards, Chris Paul and SGA.
yeah, exactly. And then when you're looking at point guards, who there's so many good point guards in the league, but a lot of them are like ball dominant or they're like the guy on a team, right? There's just a lot of good point guards, but he's not that. So in
That's
a
a good
lot of
point.
ways, I think he's a good complement to LeBron and AD to where he doesn't have to be the guy, but he can just like he can just be that point guard who can score, but is not like a guy that needs to get 22 a game for them to have a chance. Like he can be in that 15 range or something. And then you add Montrez on top of that, that gives them so much versatility.
It's
Like,
nasty.
yeah, so yeah. And then
Yeah, I mean, they also got Wesley Matthews, who's like
oh, they
just
did.
Danny Green, but a little bit better shooting, worse defense.
Probably better
So,
defense now. Maybe.
yeah, I mean, on the wing, I think he's really good, but in the paint, he's not.
We're going to see at some point a Montrezl Harrell fast break. He's bringing the ball up, toss it up court to AD dunk. Like that's reality because Montrez can put it down a little bit and just again like basically what you're saying. That's my I'll pick somebody. I'll pick a different acquisition. But I just wanted to comment on your thing is like literally Lakers just upgraded. Like they just digivolved what they had. Like they sent Dwight, which he played his role, but I'm not a big Dwight fan.
And I don't think you could last more than 1 year of Dwight and his doing Dwight stuff,
No.
like go.
Yeah. Montrez keeps the energy thing. On the bench, he's going to be yelling and screaming. On the court, he's going to be yelling and screaming. He can go in, hurt you, just bang you up, dunk on you, get and ones, and he can put the ball down a little bit. He knows how to play the pick and roll well because, I mean, him and Lou Williams have been doing it for years. Coming off 6th man of the year, like that's a huge upgrade. And then, like what you said about, Schroeder it really speaks to the fact that he was sitting alongside one really budding and one really wizened point guard and still got his own, but didn't look like, oh, I'm clamoring over the other two to get it. And I need like a million touches to get my 15, 17 a game. And there was a couple points where he just looked fearless. Like I remember watching some OKC games. He just drive in, finish the layup, get and one, or just take big pull up threes in clutch time and hit them. And yeah, I'm not happy about it. Like the Lakers just like I said, the one knock I had on them, aside from like, how do you feel midway of the season health wise, is just their bench, and they just upgraded on their core. And that makes me kind of sad.
And they're also reporting to be talking to Bogdan. So it's like, if that happens,
That would suck.
That would really suck. Scott, what's your pick for this?
Well, it's actually just getting rid of Bledsoe. It didn't really matter to me what we got. I mean, I'm really happy for Drew Holiday.
No, it's a really good one.
But it's just getting Bledsoe out and like that just improves our team. Like any ball handler that can play make is like an upgrade. It doesn't matter who it was.
Anyone that gets more assists than turnovers is definitely an upgrade.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, yeah, just anyone that can shoot on or create a shot for somebody else. And I think Drew Holiday can do both, which is really good. But yeah, it's definitely getting rid of Drew Bledsoe. We ran it back, and it.
Mm-hmm. And with Drew, you don't like you actually upgrade at defense, which is because Eric Bledsoe's like not bad defensively, but like Drew is like probably one of the best, if not the best. So like you didn't even fall off on the defensive end, and even just having that combo of Drew on the perimeter and then Giannis on the inside, like, I mean, those two alone, you're looking at a defensive headache. Like, so I like it too.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was telling Scott that, but I didn't. I watched Drew a bit, but I didn't fully know his game, and that's what JJ Redick on his podcast, having played with Drew for years, said that he's the best, one of the best, if not the best, like on-ball perimeter guard defenders. And then I was like, okay, I thought he was pretty good, but it was interesting to hear him say that. And then a couple other people like reiterated that. I think Fred VanVleet said that. So I'm glad you brought that up because I was trying to say that to Scott, but I had less, I was just kind of pulling from what other people had said. I mean, trustworthy sources, but yeah, I agree. I think they did not only on the ball handling end, but they did upgrade their defense too on that role. And that's
and that's a huge reason why I wanted Wesley Matthews back is because he could have started for us in that lineup, and our defense is just nasty. Chris Middleton's not a joke on defense either.
You got Brook Lopez staring at people too,
protecting the rim,
looking to get his 2 blocks a game, or 1.7 blocks a game, whatever it was.
It's like that defense, who was already like pretty much the best in the NBA in the regular season, just gets better, and then also we get better offense too. Like I really wish we did bring back Wesley Matthews. He only signed for $3.6 million too, and on the Lakers, so it's like it was not impossible to do. But maybe Bobby Portis, really? He just said, "Let me get a ring real quick."
Yeah, I guess
different backyard for a ring apparently, but yeah, I'm overall happy with the Bucks offseason moves. Just the Bogdan cuckening really like got me
that was gonna be a good one too.
Yeah, I have like blue balls from that, but like still no complaints, like really no complaints at all.
So my pick, well, first so the notable re-signs, we touched on some of them. Bertans stayed with the Wizards. He could have been a really big deal.
Really wanted him somewhere.
Joe Harris stayed with the Nets. And then DeMar looked like he was going to leave DeRozan, but he stayed with San Antonio. He kept Dragic, which is key. I mean, I guess Jimmy Butler said, or Dragic said Jimmy Butler told him, if you leave, I'm going to kill you.
He's going to fight him.
Yeah, and I like 100% believe that. But they're really good friends. And so he jokingly said, like, that's why he stayed. But I believe he actually told him that. And then Rubio has been on the carousel. He made his way back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then,
which I think is really great for them, honestly.
Yeah, Conrad's happy. So one of the guys in our fantasy league, he's a longtime Minnesota fan. I actually think he said Rubio is like his favorite player, and part of that is from being a longtime Minnesota fan. And he was really happy to get him back. But I saw this tweet, and it said Rubio is on the tour of the most racist states in America with all the teams he's been moved to, because he went to OKC from Arizona, from Minnesota. I thought that was funny. I really like CP3 to the Suns. I think that's good. But Mike, I'll pick the Mavs because they only got one person, but they got Josh Richardson from Philadelphia, and I think that's really big because they just needed someone else who can just get his own shot. And I didn't know how much to think about Josh Richardson, but some of the Philly games I watched, he was like the only guy like actually clicking. And I'm even saying with Embiid on the floor. Obviously, I know Embiid's good, so I'm like slightly discounting that, but like he was the only other one. You know, they signed Tobias Harris for $1 million, and they had Horford who didn't do anything. But Josh Richardson could consistently just say, okay, screw it. I'm gonna kind of put my head down, take 2 dribbles, pull up, get a shot. And that's something that the Mavs really need. They lost Seth Curry, which hurts, but
well, Josh Richardson's good on defense, isn't he? Or is that
yeah,
true?
I think he's pretty good on defense. I mean, that's
definitely better than Seth Curry on defense.
Yeah, and they need to wall up. That's the next thing is like I like their team kind of. They just need to get better at defense, but they just just having someone else, even with Luke on the floor, that can just go and get your own, because you know they have a lot of those guys. Like they had Seth Curry, they had Penny Hardaway Jr., right?
Yeah, or Tim Hardaway Jr.
Tim Hardaway Jr. and like one other guy who all kind of did this thing of being a smaller guard that kind of just did a like bag of things but never consistently. And I think Josh Richardson's going to be big for them, because I still like them as this dark horse in the West that could just dethrone teams. I mean, I'm pretty sure they beat the Clippers if Porzingis doesn't go down. And I think they're the real, not necessarily they score the same way, but I think that fear that I mentioned about the Rockets of like they can just score in these huge bunches and no matter what you do, you're always behind. Like I feel like the Mavs are that, and they showed that this year. It's just sometimes just threes get raining, they get really hot and make a bunch of shots like really fast bunches, and then you're like, holy shit, I'm down 14, or like they're down 25 and like, holy shit, we're only up 4 now. You know what I mean? Because they just ran back 15 points, rattled off 50 points out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I think Josh Richardson was a really big pickup. And then the 2 other things I just want to just bring up, and then if you guys have anything to say about that, is the Hawks. They're swiping the credit card, baby.
Yeah.
They got Gallo, they got Hayward, they got Rondo.
No, they did not get Hayward.
They didn't get Hayward?
Charlotte got Hayward.
Oh yeah, Charlotte got Hayward. Sorry. They got Gallo, and didn't they get someone else?
They got Chris Dunn.
They got Chris Dunn from the Bulls.
But they're talking to Bogdanovich, which I hope that's where he goes, because if he goes to Lakers, it's on site.
Yeah, I think the Hawks are surprising because they're going for it, basically. They're like, we think we can win, and like we think we can compete in the East. And I mean, whether they're right or wrong, part of me kind of likes it, of like a team. They're not trying to, I mean, I don't dislike Philly for like the trust the process stuff, but the Hawks are just like, screw it, like we're gonna try to win. Like we think Trey's good enough for us to go for it, and so like we're not gonna wait. We're not gonna try to like build a team in any way other than like it's now, and we're going for it. I kind of respect it just off of pure like, I don't know. It's not as fun if every team is like takes the Thunder route or the Pelicans route of like, let me get these picks and like we'll just play the long game. I think it's fun when a team is like, we're pushing the chips in and we're going for it this year, right now, and next year, and we'll just piece it together as we go. I feel like it's makes the viewing experience better.
Yeah, they didn't give up any picks either. They just signed everybody with money. Mm-hmm. They also got Rondo too.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And I like what you're saying, because I agree, whether it works out for them or not. But the other thing too is like, you can feel better about this decision because you have Trae Young, right? Mm-hmm. You have a younger, really good captain of your ship that even with lesser pieces was still putting on a show, carrying them, but also getting a lot of people involved. So it's like you got a couple more pieces, you know. You have Gallo as a reliable shooter. Also, he's just big and can stretch the floor and open up more stuff for Trae. Like, I think it's not as big of a fantasy just because we get one really big name guy who's a little bit older now, like we're automatically competing. It's like we're making the right moves to at least make it interesting. What do you guys think about the Pistons? They're just walling up. They're just beefing. Everything they've gotten has been huge. Like they already have Drummond, and then apparently with their pickups of Plumlee and Jeremy Grant, I think it's enough. It's like the same amount of money for Blake Griffin, so he's probably getting moved somewhere. But currently they have Drummond, Plumlee, which they paid a lot, and then Jeremy Grant. And they're just really big. And they really don't have a point guard. They're just big with Derrick Rose coming off the bench, or maybe he'll have to play starting again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, I don't know what the goal is to just have a bunch of big guys. I mean, maybe they're just thinking like,
and they traded away their like young big guy.
mm-hmm.
Or no, I think Christian Wood was a free agent, but they could have signed him.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. They also traded for Shamet from the Clippers. I think they like swapped Luke Kennard for Landry Shamet, I think. But like, I mean, that's kind of just the same person, so it's not a big deal. So if I was a Pistons fan, I'd be confused. But it's not like they were good. So maybe they're thinking like, at least we're trying something, and it probably won't work, but we'll try. I don't know.
They're going the like.
I think they have to get something for
Rockets.
Blake now, or they're not going to be able to ever.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm surprised that guy's still playing, man. Like it's a sad thing to see, but he's got no legs left. Like they're physically just failing on him. And yeah, so it looks like they're trying to move on from that. Jeremy Grant is not as like solely big guy, as it looks. I was really curious to see where Jeremy Grant went because I liked his game this year. He's very long, could play pretty good, decent defense, and his 3-ball improved a lot. So there's that, but yeah, I don't know. Plumlee.
Did they get
who you rim running with, Plumlee? Like, I mean, Derrick Rose, I guess, but nobody else.
Did they also get Jahlil Okafor? Did that happen, or was I making that up? Because
I have no idea.
I don't remember.
Because if they did that, and it could be totally wrong, but I mean that's another big.
Yeah, I also have I have that Shamet went to the Nets.
Oh really?
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Which I think is big because Philly should have never let him go.
Yeah.
And then Clippers got Kennard. I think that's what it was. Like Shamet was supposed to go to the Pistons, and then they flipped him to get Kennard. The Clippers got Kennard, and then that was part of that trade, I guess, the 3-way trade. So Shamet ended up going to the Nets.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was 3-way, but that makes sense, I guess.
Which also, I really liked Kennard too. He got hurt, but he was playing well. I don't know what the Pistons are doing. They're trying to like emulate what the Lakers are doing, except they don't have LeBron or AD, and they don't have like a point guard. So they're trying to do like, when the Rockets go small, we go big. Only I don't know.
Yeah.
But did you like what Philadelphia did?
So they got Dwight, right? There was that Dwight drama where he was like, I'm coming back, and then he wasn't coming back.
Yeah. They got Dwight, Danny Green, Seth Curry.
Yeah.
And I think they added one other shooter, or maybe.
I like it, honestly.
I think they drafted a shooter, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
I don't know who it was though.
I mean, I don't love the Dwight piece of it. Like, I could, take it or leave that part. But I like Seth and I forgot who else Danny Green. Yeah. Like, it's shooters, and the thing is, like, if you're gonna run it back with Ben Simmons and Embiid, like, to have two solid shooters, and they're both solid shooters, I think. So like having those guys there is good, I think, because it helps with spacing. It helps like to convince Embiid to like, maybe you don't need to be outside all the time, and like you could try to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like it. I think it's good.
The Sixers have like a pact where they have to have a big that plays less than like 15 minutes per game on their team. Like, they have to.
I like it too, actually. Like, Seth Curry was playing really, really good for the Mavs last year. He was shooting lights out. I mean, I think he definitely got George Hill definitely got less touches than Seth, I'm pretty sure, even though he was shooting like the highest percentage. But Seth was right up there again this year with 3-point percentage. I think it's really smart.
Yeah, it was
also,
way over 40, like for a long period of time.
He was shooting bananas, and I was watching some of those games. There was a couple stretches where, this is what Josh Richardson will hopefully do, but more around different areas of the floor. But there was a couple stretches where Seth Curry just came down, did a little move, pulled up a three, tried to get to the rim, did another three, and then all of a sudden, like, Seth Curry's got like 9 points, and then he, at the end of the night, he's shooting like 5 for 7 3 or something.
Well, wasn't it? Sorry. Wasn't it that game in the playoffs when they played the Clippers and he was just like bodying Paul George and like Paul George couldn't stop him? And it's like, well, this, like, Paul George is not a scrub on defense, and he looked like he had that glimpse of like he looks like a superstar in this little like spurt. So like if you can tap into that.
Though that was also personal too, right? But I mean, but yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. It was like, I mean, I was already like my mental stock of Paul George had already fallen so low watching this bubble and the playoffs. I didn't think it could fall any lower until that moment happened. And that's no disrespect to Seth Curry, but exactly what you're saying. Like, he's like defensive player of the year, also all defensive team nom. He was like very far back, but was also like in the top 3 runnings of MVP the other year. And then Seth Curry is just like giving it to him back to back to plays. And on the other end, Paul George is missing wide open threes. And like Seth Curry is literally giving it to him and saying like, shoot it, bitch. Like, he's just staring off looking at him, and he's bricking those threes. And I'm like, one, what has happened to Paul George? But two, like, Seth Curry did look like, it was like, is that Steph out there? Just like,
yeah, exactly.
Did he suit up at halftime and then like snuck him in? The hands fine, nobody noticed. But yeah, there was, and that's why I really like that pickup, because you're right, they need the shooters. Ben Simmons needs more lanes to drive because he's not shooting, and then Embiid should be bullying people and abusing his footwork in the paint instead of shooting threes, even though he was shooting them in a like relatively decent clip. And you keep it all in the family because you got
Doc.
Seth, who is now the son-in-law of Doc. So that, I think, will only make relationships better in terms of like working hard and committing, buying in, and looking late night film sessions and whatever. And then as bad as Danny Green looked last year, he's not going to repeat that like that, and he still got his defense. And I think it's always so hard playing with LeBron too. Like, I can't stress that enough. I mean, look at Brandon Ingram, right? And just all these other players that like, you just don't get the ball, but everything's expected of you, and like for Danny Green, he didn't need it a ton in San Antonio, but he definitely was like part of the offense more. Same thing with Toronto. Like, it's just so hard if you're only a shooter and then you get reduced to like you're hyper only a shooter to just like, okay, like you're wide open now, but you have to hit it. Like, if you haven't touched the ball in 13 minutes or whatever, it's just so weird. And I think he'll be integrated better in Philadelphia and will actually start hitting threes again. So I like what they did. So last question that I have, we did this last time, is who do you think, just off the top of your head, is getting last place in each conference, East and West? Who do you think is just taking the L to the extreme?
Man,
Pistons. Now, right?
The herky jerky clobber bots Pistons.
Yeah, I could see that. It's funny how like my knee-jerk reactions are just the teams that have been bad, right? So I'm like, could the Hornets be there? But it's like maybe, but like
they're gonna have an interesting year, I think.
Yeah, like they might just be scrappy. Pistons aren't a bad bet, I think.
Yeah, or the Cavs. They didn't do anything.
Yeah. Actually, I might go with the Cavs. I don't think the Cavs are good at all.
Now the West is interesting.
Yeah,
because they're all like kind of decent.
I think it's got to be the Kings.
Damn.
The Kings drafted that dude. I think his name's Halliburton.
And
Tyrese. From what I've heard, and I don't know, haven't seen him play like in a real game, but like just YouTube clips every now and then. Like, I think he could be good. Like, especially like when they were talking about him on the draft, and after he got drafted, they were talking about how like he's kind of a like a feel player, I guess, of like doesn't need to be on the ball and like could slide in nicely next to Fox. So like if that, I could see it working out. I don't know how much he moves the needle, I guess, for how good the team is, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I guess the Kings are in the running, but I think they might be okay.
Do Rockets take if Harden leaves? Do they take eighth or not eighth? Do they take last? The West is just so good. That's what it is.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's just they're just so good. Like
Depends when Harden leaves, I guess, and if he plays. I don't know. I think the Kings could beat the Rockets straight up if there was no Harden, but I don't think that will be reflected in the wins and the losses as much.
yeah.
Because I mean, I'm looking at the bottom teams, and the three teams below the Kings right now are the Pelicans, Timberwolves, and Warriors. Which
They're all going to be better this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the Kings in the West. That's the easy one for me. I don't know the answer to the East.
Yeah.
Pelicans are going to be. They're going to do better than last year. They're going to hopefully have a healthy Zion. Apparently, and they also got Steven Adams, which
yeah, they did
Yeah.
through the 4-team trade for Eric Bledsoe.
yeah. But they also have Eric Bledsoe, and if depending on how
They
much
traded
they
away George Hill too.
Yeah,
how
I
they
saw
got
that.
Adams. So that kind of the point guard situation is a little less muddy there. So obviously, I think you let Bledsoe come off the bench there, and then you don't have to worry about Lonzo losing minutes to two different point guards. But
what about the Thunder? Do we think the Thunder could drop? I don't even know who's still on their team
because they have nobody on their team anymore.
Yeah, I think they're dropping, but probably not to the last
yeah.
place. I don't think.
Because they still have Shea.
They have yeah, they have SGA, they have Dort, the Harden stopper.
Yeah.
And they have, I think they still have Robertson, though he doesn't start. They moved, Terrence Ferguson got moved.
I think they got Horford, right?
Yeah, they have Horford now.
Yeah, baby.
Watch Horford just like do average 24 points a game or something, and he just goes, "I told you."
He just
Embiid holding me back.
Yeah, he just needs the minutes, dude.
That was the biggest bust of fantasy for me last year. It's like hung on to Horford, and he literally, it was like not even like having a player. And then I'm not even kidding. The week I dropped him was the week that Embiid got hurt, and then like Conrad picked him up, and he like had a hell of a game. He had like 2 really hot games in a row, and I was like, I hate you so much, Horford. But then at the same time, I mean, it sucked and it was funny, but I was like, still just the production that he had, and then Embiid comes back, and then he goes back to like 8 points a game or whatever. I was like, still just dropping him, like the small little blip he had of good still did not outweigh all the bad that I had for having him for weeks on weeks and weeks of no production.
Yeah, the Thunder, they're going to fall. They're not going to be the 5th seed in the Western Conference going to the playoffs. They're definitely not even going to make it.
That's a good one. I mean, the Pelicans are going to be interesting to watch because it's almost like an inflated and younger version of the Celtics, where it's like they have so many good people you want to go to. It's like, what do you do, and like how do you scheme for that? And I'm saying like as their team, not to guard them. You know what I mean? Because like you got to get Zion, work him in. Then you have the Lonzo thing. Then you have the most improved player of the year, Ingram, but then somehow you still have to play Bledsoe, or else it feels like you just spent a lot of money to have something.
Bledsoe is just there. They don't need to invest anything into Bledsoe. They just got the picks out of him. Really,
the picks, the return on the picks, I thought was their best move of that trade. Like they got a lot of picks back, and I feel like they're looking long term.
Yeah.
So I kind of like what they're doing. They're not trying to. They're kind of like opposite Hawks right now. Where like we're fine with like we'll go slow. We have our guys. They're young. We'll let them develop and build, and then we'll put pieces around them in the upcoming draft. So I like it. I think I don't know about this year. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think like long term, I'd be happy if I was them.
Yeah,
No,
I don't think you put any meaningful like minutes into Bledsoe. He's just the bench unit. Like,
well, that's
guy.
how you're supposed to do it, but I'm just saying, like, will that happen? Because they're like, well, this was the starting point guard on a team that went, to the second round of the Eastern playoffs. You know what I mean? So, I'm not like,
Twice.
obviously that wasn't a big part. He wasn't a big part of that, but I'm just saying the way
No,
admin,
he was a big part of it.
the exiting part. So I'm just saying, like, I don't know if I feel like they're going to be hard pressed to just be like, okay, you just sit for a really long time now. But it would be the correct call. But it's they're the moves that you're supposed to make, but then looked weird on face
I don't know. I
value.
think the Pelicans are probably smart enough to realize that.
I think they got a new coach, right? I think they fired Alvin Gentry at the end of the year. So I don't know who they hired. I don't remember.
But yeah, I mean, if Bledsoe's not getting like a third of the minutes that Lonzo Ball is, then they're fucking up, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, and then okay, so yeah, last thing. Apparently John Wall no longer wants to play in Washington, even though Bradley Beal said, no, I'm staying because I'm waiting to play with John Wall. So, hello?
This was a big time head scratcher for me because it's not like he has tons of value. Like, when was the last time you saw John Wall play? Like, I can't even remember.
2017.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. So it's like, so you would be asking a team to trade you when you're basically
in blind faith.
Yeah, and you're at your lowest value, right? Like, of his career, this is like probably his lowest, if not his lowest, I guess, could have been after he signed that huge deal, like immediately after that. That might have been his lowest moment. But like, like, how are the Wizards supposed to get any meaningful return on John Wall and his contract, especially when they've just been hanging on to him to get through this injury? I didn't get it.
I wasn't even an NBA fan. Like, I've never seen John Wall play basketball since last time he played.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, I guarantee you that if you just search John Wall right now, it'll all be like, John Wall, is he still injured? John Wall injury. John Wall, is he coming back? Like, because that's all it's ever been, and that's all the conversation surrounding that name has been. He's like, it's so bad that he got injured, and he's still injured, and it's like, what are the Wizards going to do with him? Are they going to wait out the injury? Is Bradley Beal going to stay because of the injury? Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, Bradley Beal's going to be one of the most sought after people next year. And he straight up said, like, I want to stay because I get to play with John Wall. I've been waiting. And like, that's like what I feel like we need to push this over the top in terms of being a great team. And then I don't know. It's just like, it's like Bradley Beal's been waiting. John Wall's been in a coma, and he like comes to his hospital bed every day and like reads him a story. And John Wall just wakes out of a coma and he's like, I'm going to Houston. He's like, who are you? I don't want to hang out anymore.
Yeah, for like Russell Westbrook. Okay, that's like a sick trade. Like, that was like the trade that was being mulled
that's
around.
the only thing that's been reported as potential. Yeah, which is like,
literally,
are you excited about that, Wizards?
The same people, I guess. Like,
yeah, like both have a huge contract. They play similar styles, and there's question marks of like how good they'll be going forward. Like, that's not doing it for me.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they're both like go fast guys. And then Russell Westbrook, I mean, he was minor, but he's coming off an injury too, and that really, that and the system, but that held him back in the second round of the playoffs against the Lakers, with that quad injury too. So it's like, okay, you're trading a guy who's been injured forever. I don't know. It's the whole thing is just.
KCP just re-signed with the Lakers. So hopefully that means they're not going to get Bogdanovich, or hopefully that actually might be part of a sign and trade. But
I think he stays. KCP was like the most solid role player on that team, if we're not counting Rondo, who's gone now. You know what I mean? Kuzma was a big time stinker. Morris hit shots, but he got exposed on defense. And, people were happy with Caruso's defense, but he didn't impact the offensive side. And KCP was just their best shooter in the playoffs. So, yeah, I think they keep him, that he resigned. So, I don't know. Yeah, a lot's happened, a lot to think about. Thankfully, we only have to wait another month before games start again. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at this list. OKC has 1 million picks.
Mm-hmm.
They got to start trading those picks to get somebody.
Well, I think they're just like, we're gonna be the team of the future. Like from a couple of years from now, we're just gonna have every
they can just trade up. Use their multiple first rounders to trade up in drafts and get the better talent.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like what they do, because when the Celtics had all those picks, right, it was always about like, oh, then the Nets pick, right? Like, what will the Celtics do with the Nets pick? And then they use some of them to get like Tatum and Brown and stuff. So it worked out, but it's just like, it feels like when the teams have tons of picks, they drive a lot of the conversation, right? Of like, oh, well, maybe this superstar will get moved to OKC for, these 4 first rounders or something. It's just fun because they're always in the mix, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think if they get a couple nice young guys, they could really just grab a superstar, somebody who emerges in the next couple of years. They have like picks to like 2027 or something.
Yeah, it's
crazy. With multiple first round picks in each year. So they're definitely going long, and they don't have to draft them. They can trade them. So
yeah,
and like a lot of their picks are like good picks, like from shitty ass teams. Like that's what's crazy. Like if the Clippers explode, they're gonna get huge value off those guys.
Exactly. Wasn't that 2027 one the Suns? Was that part of the Chris Paul thing?
I don't know. I looked at it briefly, like whose picks were whose, but they have like obviously a lot of Clippers. I think they have a few Nets picks somehow, but
they did get a pick from OKC.
They've been trading picks too, like this offseason, like back and forth.
Yeah, they're just. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was telling Scott,
you literally have to Google it and like look every day because it changes right now.
Yeah,
they have so many picks. It's like, like almost too big to fail from an outside team's perspective. It's like, what's one more pick we're gonna give him? Like, fuck it. OKC already has so many. You know what I mean? Because you start looking at these deals and you're like, okay, you got Horford, okay, and a first round pick. You just keep doing that. And everyone just keeps still throwing first round picks at them. And it's just gone to the point where opposing teams are just like, screw it. They already have 7. What's 8? What's 9? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, we weren't going to compete.
It's like they're winning the pick game. It might as well keep letting them win it than somebody else, right?
Right, exactly. Like instead of like, oh, now Lakers go from 0
it's like a
to
problem of the future
picks
that no one's like really thinking about now. But like, in 5 years from now, we could be talking about the next like big 3 of Harden, KD and fucking Westbrook, like coming out of OKC, like just starting to blossom, right? Because they have so much capital. They could probably trade for the number 1 overall pick at least like twice with everything they've got.
Yeah. It's kind of funny looking back, because that's still like, the biggest like oof in recent memory for me is, letting Harden go and then that team slowly breaking apart. And it's almost like Presti is just vehemently trying to right that wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, we are a small market. We can't afford all these superstars. If we have them and leave, it's like, I'm just going to get all the picks from everything. to just get every young talent I want potentially to develop them and just hope, after their 5-year rookie deal, we just keep them, or we could just transform some of those picks into just grabbing big guys in trades that we couldn't otherwise afford, because I'm not going to let that happen again. Watch 3 separate guys get MVP and one of them get multiple titles and have nothing to show for it, except that we have retro jerseys of them in our store, NBA store. You know what I mean? So, which good on him. And I know a lot of people say his name a lot for making those wheel and deals, but it's like now he just wants to be this dragon sitting on a pile of picks, and so people stop talking about, remember Harden, Russ, and KD?
Yeah, he's
remember
like
when you had that?
He's like Jeff Bezos with picks right now.
Yeah, but yeah, I like there was a lot of interesting moves for sure, and now we just have to see what happens. Yeah, Bulls didn't do anything. They got like Garrett Temple for 1 year, and the Heat signed Harkless. They didn't make any other moves aside from that. I don't really know what to think about that. Clippers got worse, I think. I mean, I like Kennard, but losing Montrez.
Yeah.
And
they re-signed, I always forget which Morris they have, but whichever one they have, I think they re-signed him. But
yeah,
paid
they
him
did
a lot.
Yeah, they paid him like $40 million, right?
Yeah.
Over,
I'm not a Morris twin fan, so I'm always skeptical.
Well, you don't like stepping on people's heels, man? You don't like fighting before you get out of the locker room?
Not exactly a spicy take, I guess, to be anti-Morris twin.
Yeah, they did re-sign him.
They're definitely the most trash of the twins, like in the NBA.
Yeah.
The Lopez twins are the most wholesome.
Yeah. And then the Holiday, not even twins. Or no, they're just
Holiday
brothers.
Family.
They're not triplets. That's the best family, I think.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, they did re-sign him, which he was like all right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Clippers have no hope. Sam Presti robbed them all of all their hope, and then Paul George just drove the stake through their heart.
Yeah, at least Doc Rivers got out before it went.
He's like, I can't do this shit. Yeah, I wonder just what like Kawhi thinks, because he
thinks he wish he got Jimmy.
He really was primed to just be this freaking gunslinging baller for hire, cyborg sheriff for hire, just stroll into town, raise a banner. I had, and I know I wasn't alone, but I had the Clippers pegged for the best in the West last year, just looking at potential and depth, and then they just imploded.
Yeah, their bench just seemed to be really fucking deep, but
I mean, they never fully got it, and part of that was because they both physically left the bubble, one to party and get wings, the other one to attend a funeral, but like, yeah, Montrez and Lou Williams just were not good in the playoffs, and they're like, they're like fringing on 30 plus points combined off the bench. And when you can't get that and you can't abuse that energy, and I don't know. I just really thought, just after what I saw the year before, I was like, Lou Williams is killing people. He's doing whatever he wants, and then I love him with Montrez, and I don't know. It just didn't work out, and now they're doomed, and they're probably not going to play great this year either.
Yeah. I think the Kawhi story is super interesting moving forward, because he kind of always gets a pass, right? Like behavior wise, I think because he's quiet and doesn't say a lot and like is really good. So there was all that stuff in the Spurs, but it was always like his uncle, right? His uncle's the one that's the problem. And then he leaves Toronto, and then and it's just always like, okay, I feel like in the conversation, like, oh, it's just Kawhi. But like, I don't know. I feel like he has some responsibility in the sense of like that team obviously had problems in terms of like chemistry, and like, so if it doesn't get better, then like I think he has to shoulder some of that, because when you're the best player on a team that's supposed to be one of the best teams in the league and then underperforms and has like an embarrassing exit, like people aren't just going to move on and be like, oh, that's just how Kawhi is. Like people are going to start being like, you got to lead your team better, even if it's not the way he leads, because I don't think he has to be like, I don't think there's a right way to lead, but people are going to start wanting more if the Clippers keep underperforming. I think that's what I think.
What if that's not your personality though? Like
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think he's like
he's not the
actually a
guy to
leader.
just get in your face.
Yeah, which
And
I
that's
think
what.
is
Go
no, I
ahead,
think
G.
I think it's fine. Like I don't think he has to be a get in your face or like a certain type of way. I think he can be who he is, but there will still be questions about like, why are you as a team not doing well? And so like the Doc piece is gone. So if it stays bad, okay, well, is it Paul George's fault? Like, is it all Paul George's fault, or is it like at what point do we start asking Kawhi questions about like what's going on with this team and why are you not better? I guess, but maybe not. Maybe that's not fair.
Well, I don't know. I get what you're saying, but from at least from like a standpoint of looking at his game, he still brought it. I think there was one game where he really stunk it up
Mm-hmm.
alongside Paul George, who also stunk it up in the or in the Mavs series. Um, or no, I think it was the Denver series. But aside from that, I mean, like he was playing, having Kawhi performance, having Kawhi numbers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple times where he looked shaky on defense, which was weird to see. In the playoffs, where he kind of was just getting got by a couple moves and like closeouts were slower. But other than that, I feel like his performance, like on a basketball team, that's why I'm asking, like, what if that's not your thing? Because I get what you're saying. Like, if you have to, at least you have to take the heat. If you're one of the
Mm-hmm.
top 1-2 guys, people are going to look at you and like, what's going on? Even if you have a 25-point night, why aren't you winning? But I think it's tougher for him because I really do believe he is this kind of weird, kind of stoic guy. And then you also have Paul George, where he seems to just mentally get down.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's kind of a dangerous thing. I mean, one, the guy doesn't say anything, but then even if you were willing to, you might be in the back of Kawhi's head. Like, if I get on this guy, like if I, think if he had to play with Jimmy, but if I get on this guy, he's going to be thinking about it for a week and it's going to even make his performance worse. I'm not saying that's why he didn't step up in the leadership role. I think he's just not like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is a tough thing in that spot. They just need someone else to kind of empower them and be vocal to push them forward. Because it was just so weird watching them. They were just getting these lackadaisical strides of just nobody cared, no one did anything, no one made good rotations. You got two of the best perimeter defenders, and everyone's late on rotations and just getting cooked by super easy passes.
Yeah. I guess that's more of the point, right? It's like how can we look at this team that is like not doing what we think they're capable of, and then it's just the questions start coming. Like, what is it? Because right now, people kind of have an answer, right? It's like maybe chemistry, maybe Doc wasn't making the right choices, Paul George really, really sucked. But then what happens if it keeps going? When does it kind of like, okay, it wasn't Doc because Doc is gone now, and like maybe Paul George starts playing better, but like maybe not, and maybe eventually we just come around to like, well, what's going on with Kawhi, or like Kawhi's taking a lot of rest days still. Like, is that the best choice? Things like that. I think we could maybe see coming forward.
Yeah.
But if you win, then nothing's a problem and things get fixed. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think I was kind of mad at him the way he played the San Antonio thing. And then, I had some time to forget. And then the Toronto thing, no one can be mad about because everyone knew he wasn't going to stay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was it was the best possible thing that could happen for the Raptors because everyone was like joking with them, like, you guys just took the worst deal. Like, this guy, you're not going to win anything, and this guy's just going to leave in a year, and you're going to look stupid. Well, they won. I mean, he left, but they won, so they didn't look stupid, and it was their first title ever. So, like, we don't really care right now. Like, whatever, we're just happy. And then he did leave, and then now they have the Clippers blow up. So yeah, I think now you're right. It is, the lens is going to tighten more, since he seems he's going to be there for a couple of years, to see like what is really happening, and is should some of that be more of Kawhi's fault of just kind of like tuning out too much. Yeah, I don't know. I'm down on the Clippers now mentally, and they got a new coach. They got to figure it out. It's just, and they lose Montrez. It's probably going to be rough for them this year. It's just going to be mediocre. Like, they'll have a decent season, I think, like record-wise. But, yeah, I think they're just going to get hurt in the playoffs again.
Fred VanVleet stayed home.
Yeah,
he's go to New York.
Wait, it got confirmed that he's staying in the Raptors
for $85 million over 4 years.
Oh,
big time!
Dang! So he did get the bag to an extent, and then
he earned it in that Bucks series 2 years ago when he just gave us the dad dick.
That was that was pretty crazy. That just had a kid. Jimmy tried to do the same thing. He had a baby in the bubble, and then he was like, I'm not bringing any family in the bubble. It's business. And I was like, oh shit, he might go Fran VanVleet year and win the title for his baby.
That made me so mad when in the finals, when they were playing the Warriors, and he was just like ridiculous. And I just felt like this dude was literally struggling until this child was born, and then he's just like incredible. Like, are you kidding me? It couldn't have been like a month later that they could have had this baby.
He literally like inseminated his chakra into his wife, and then like now he's realigned when his baby was born.
Holding his baby was like touching the all-powered.
That must have been the best nut of his life, because he literally gained strength from having that baby come out. Like,
yeah, it was actually like insane. Yeah. I don't know the numbers. I would like to go back and look at like from after, like where he was at. Child is born, starts coming back playing again, and gets in the playoffs, and then he just has this huge jump and just like shooting percentage, true shooting percentage, points, just like ridiculous, like deep pull-up threes that he's just hitting. And everyone's like, I don't know, new dad. That's all you can say. And I would just keep messaging my buddy David, who's also a Warriors fan. I would just say Fred VanVleet, Steph Curry, Seth Curry. I was like, that's the order of the Curry brothers shooting wise. And I just kept telling him Fred VanVleet was the best Curry of the family, because that series he just was ridiculous.
He sunned more than just his son in that postseason. He sunned the entire Bucks organization for sure.
Are you excited? What are your thoughts on the Oubre pickup, especially with Clay being out?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think last year when he left the Wizards, I didn't really like him. I was just kind of like, he's whatever, like probably overrated. I don't love him. But then he had a good year last year. And from, it seemed like he was part of this reason for why the Suns were doing well, right? Like he's long. And so I think I don't think it changes much this year. I think if like Clay was still there and they got him, like maybe they wouldn't have done it if Clay didn't get hurt, but let's just say Clay wasn't hurt, I'd probably be more excited, because it would feel like a bench guy that could play good defense and just kind of like not need a lot of attention. He's just kind of like a good fit, I would think. So I don't hate it, but everything feels like a wash now this season.
Yeah.
It's like when we were talking about last place teams in the West, like maybe it'll be the Warriors again, because who knows? Maybe they'll just shut down. Like maybe Steph might have a little something and they just shut him down and they're like, all right, we'll just do this again. And that's going to suck. But yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to be excited, but like overall, I think it's a nice pickup. I don't hate it.
It's a tough spot because yeah, I mean analysts were already saying, already putting you guys in like the top 3 in the West. They're like Warriors are going to be there, like
Yeah.
no KD, Clay's back, Warriors are going to be there. That's somebody that we missed this year in the playoffs, but make room for them because they're definitely going to be in the topper part of the Western playoffs. And now with the Clay injury, it's just like I don't know. I mean, I like the Oubre thing. I think he's really bouncy. I think he's got a lot of energy. He'll play well off the fast break with you guys. He can shoot the 3, and then working with you guys, you're going to develop his 3 out even better in form and everything. And then I was telling Scott, like, it's kind of nice because he's just another big energy guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's blowing kisses to the opponents when he hits a 3 and has like some nasty dunks, and like that paired with Draymond, where Draymond's more like, I'm going to get on my own teammates and fire them up or like tell them if they're like not playing up to snuff. Oubre is going to get in the other team's head and also like pump up the team by getting in their head. And I think that'll help because, sometimes the Warriors, I mean, this was more when they were super rolling, but they would get into stretches where they would kind of just all tune out of the game and get a little too lax. And I think having someone fresh who just gets a big dunk and is talking shit could help revitalize them to refocus almost to like they are playing a basketball game and kind of need that. But yeah, I don't know, everything is just kind of overshadowed by the Clay thing. But I thought the Oubre thing was interesting because I even liked it for OKC just because I want to see where he goes with his game because of last year I saw some good glimmers. So it could be good for you. Wiggins gonna go off this year.
Oh man,
this is the year. This is the year.
You're gonna be head to toe in Wiggins.
Top 100, so in love. Top 100 player this year.
You're gonna forget who Wiseman is because Wiggins is just the man this year.
20 points per game on 40 minutes.
Anytime I talk myself into Wiggins being good and like helpful is with it. It's within the context of like the team as a whole. I'm like, we don't need to ask too much of him. He can like just slide in as this kind of like, third or fourth option. He doesn't have to do too much. That's like the given that I'm working from. So now minus Clay, it's like, Andrew,
touch the ball more.
Yeah, we need you to be what you were supposed to be from the start. And that's what makes me feel not confident.
He's like the Corona of basketball players because everyone who likes Corona is like, Corona's so good. If you jam like 5 packets of salt in it and put 2 limes in there and put a little chili around the rim and then it tastes so good. It's like if Wiggins just doesn't have to do anything, if he's like the 4th or 5th option, doesn't have to dribble the ball a lot, just waits for it to come to him, he could be so good.
It's a little like that Bledsoe thing where when year after year people are saying if X, Y, and Z just falls into place, it would be great. Like those are just red flags. Like, okay, so when is X, Y, and Z actually going to happen?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a downer year for you, and then Scott's year is a little more on the upswing, but we got to see how it plays off. But the Drew pickup was good. I was just hoping that they would maybe move Levine and just get Kemba and say screw it, but that's probably not going to happen. So I'll just be watching other teams. Okay, well, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but that was I think we covered that was a lot. I think we covered everything and even more than I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I think we got to more than I was expecting. I was like, well, we might not get to some like the Joe Harris thing or something like that, but no, I think we hit basically everything.
Yeah. Do either of you have any final thoughts about anything or anything you want to say or plug?
Fuck the Lakers.
I'm glad it's coming back for like Christmas time. That was a win. I thought like it just feels right. Like it's cool to see it coming back around that time. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Also, fuck the Lakers.
Yeah,
Also,
of course.
oh, they're gonna be so. They're gonna be a problem. The only thing you have on going for you is that they're the most tired because they made the deepest run. But
Yeah.
other than that, like,
Yeah,
they're just gonna be a problem. So, okay, well, thank you for doing this. I mean, maybe we can do once the season gets going, we can do another one and just touch back and look at some of the things we were kind of saying to look out for. Um, we could do a shorter one too, but it was kind of just good seeing you. And that's my last thing. I'm excited for our fantasy draft.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good. We're gonna get 12 people, and it's gonna go deep this year. We're gonna do auction again, so yeah, I think that'll be cool. And a lot of people either both play basketball or watch a lot of basketball, or at least done a league. I think I have like one friend that it's his first league, but it should be cool. And then,
Yeah, G, I recommend doing like one mock draft, salary cap mock draft, just to see what player like dollar values are at.
Yeah, that's a good idea because it's like it's all these like markets kind of like work themselves out, and it's like if you don't have an idea of that, you could be in some
You could
trouble.
blow your load early, and
I have no
or
idea
wait
who
too
I even
long.
want this time around.
I have an idea of who I want. Funnily enough, I don't want very many star players at all.
It feels like a smart move.
I think you want one cornerstone guy.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that you're gonna have to pay for, and then like the rest, that's when it gets really interesting. Like you want like a Cat or a James Harden or something, like a Giannis, a Luka, and then
the second kind of tier of like stars like Westbrook. Like I don't want like the Westbrook or like that tier of player that badly. I'd rather have like someone who's gonna fill up the percentage sheets or the assist sheet or something.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too because I mean, last year the two people that just like sat on their hands and didn't take anybody for like 10, 12 picks just got to get the lion's share of the rest of the good players when everyone was broke. So that's always a thing too. When you're getting like Karis LeVert for $17 or something.
But yeah, definitely it's a different beast because like when you're doing snake drafts, you try to in your first two picks you want to pair two stars together, but that might not necessarily be smart in auction because you could just be broke and then you lose out on that meaty filler that's going to carry.
And we're doing positions too, which will add another wrinkle to it because you can't just jam like guard. Well, you could, but then you're locked out of guards, you know. So if someone else comes up for a good price, you just can't draft him because you only can have 3 guards in your roster. So that'll be interesting too, to see like what you want to kind of who you want for where, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, I won't keep you anymore, G. Thank you for doing this. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. We're like in a curfew now, starting tomorrow or starting today, and kind of shuttering again. So,
yeah.
I hope. Are you coming into town for the Thanksgiving or Christmas holiday? Or are you
not for Thanksgiving. We're planning to come back for Christmas. But it feels like everything is just a maybe always, right? It's like, well, we're planning, but if things get crazy, or crazier, then maybe not. But right now we're planning to. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
But yeah, this was fun. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's always good to talk basketball with people because I don't get that chance. We have no human contact anymore. So.
Is it just you and Rose?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you said you've just been sitting inside, so yeah, you don't really see anybody.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I basically stay at home or go to Harrison's house. Like I definitely have like a pod that I don't leave.
Yeah. For months I was just home and like nobody came over, and then recently just had like Scott and Nick will come over a couple times to do something, and then that's like it. Or like I said, I tried to play basketball a couple times, and then that's like it. So
I know.
maybe
It's
maybe
tough.
I still want to do we need to do that another podcast with you on how to stay mentally sharp and
Yeah, I'm
fight
gonna
off
need one of those.
the demons. So I think I need to do that with you sooner than later, with it getting darker sooner, and you know, with the cold coming and everyone just being forced inside again. So I'll have to do that with you. But yeah, it was good talking to you. We should do it again. But like I said, now that I'm thinking about it, we should do the the mental staying positive somehow podcast too.
Yeah.
All right. It was good talking to you.
Thanks,
we'll see you guys later.
All right. See you soon, G.
See
Always
ya.
a pleasure, bro.
Bye.